Hey, I'm Shay and welcome back to my channel, Books with Shay. So today I thought that I would do, I feel like the normal first video on people's channels. So I started my channel during the reading rush, and so it made the most sense for me to do a TBR for the reading rush because that's where I was in my life and my reading at that time. And then I didn't do a wrap up. I failed the reading rush. It was all downhill from there, honestly. Booktube is so time consuming and difficult to really kind of get started and get rolling, especially when you don't have the encouragement of people watching. So you do all of this hard work, and when you post your first video, you have 0 subscribers, 0 views, except for the 8 times that you viewed it to check and make sure it was up correctly. Just me, anyway. So now there are 10 of you hanging out there. Hi, welcome. I'm so thrilled that you're here. But yeah, so I kind of didn't plan well enough in order to be able to have consistent content up on my channel, which is a huge no-no if you're just starting booktube. Plan for consistent content, but from this point on, I would love to provide that consistent content. And so we're gonna start with what would be the normal first video on most people's channels, which is the Booktube Newbie Tag. So, which you probably knew by the title of this video. So I'm gonna go through, there are a few questions here that are a part of the Booktube Newbie Tag. I'm gonna answer those for you. Hopefully you leave here knowing me a little bit better and knowing what to expect from my channel a little bit better. I'm pretty excited. Let's hop right in. So the first question is, why did you start this channel? And then the second question is, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to booktube? And I am kind of tying these questions together because I started this channel because I thought there were some fun and unique things that I could bring to booktube. Because just like anybody who starts a booktube channel, I love to read. There are not a lot of people in my everyday life that love to read as much as I do, that love to read the same things I do, that can have an in-depth discussion with me about the themes and the fantasy novel that I just finished, or whatever the case may be. And I thought this would be a great platform to make some friends, to have some great book discussions, and to talk to you guys about something that I really love to do, which is reading. Fortunately, I am married to someone who also really loves to read, and we read together a lot, and we talk about books together a lot. And you'll see on this channel, he will appear, and I already actually have a video filmed with him in it, and he'll kind of give his perspective on books because his perspective is a little bit different than mine. So I wanted to make the connections to have the discussions about the books, and I wanted to bring something unique and exciting to booktube, and that is a booktube channel that is a little more lifestyle focused. So I see a lot of booktube channels where they talk strictly about books. So they talk about what they thought of a book, what their star rating was, what they are going to read, what they already read, which is all great. I love all of that content. Obviously, I watch a lot of booktube, another reason why I started my booktube channel. But also, I want to see more on booktube the way that books impact people's lives. So books for me impact everything from the way that I do my makeup, to decor in my home, to the activities that I choose to do. Like, there's a video that I have coming up that is a book date. So my husband and I will go on bookish dates and things like that. And books impact my life in a more round way than just reading them and talking about them. That's only kind of step one for me. And so I don't see a ton of bookish content that, other than maybe reading vlogs, that have a lot of lifestyle tied in, but books are a huge part of my whole life, not just the portion where I'm sitting down and reading them and reviewing them. And so I hope to bring some videos that you've never seen before in this context to booktube and show you how literature affects my life and who I am as a person, because I think every book that you read changes you at least a little bit, or every book that you read, especially that you enjoy or that you get something from, just tweaks a little piece of you and gets you a little bit closer to who you would like to be. And so I want to show how books do that for me on this channel. So the next question is, what are you the most excited about for this channel? I think I'm the most excited about connecting with people that have the same interests that I do. I really I'm excited because I love the booktube community. I love watching booktubers interact with one another, and I love seeing the way that books bridge these relationships from person to person. And so I would love to create some of those relationships and foster some friendships in this. So I'm really excited about the relationships, really excited about the creative outlet. I'm a creative person. I like doing creative things, and I have had such a blast brainstorming what I want to do on my booktube, what kind of videos they're going to be. I'm going to talk about what tags I want to do and how I want to film them and everything. And even this week I'm on a staycation, I guess. My in-laws are out of town, and so my husband and I are in my in-laws' home, which was like awesome because I don't think I've done a vlog yet for you guys to see. The house that my husband and I live in, we're renovating, and so we like don't have hot water a lot of the time, and we're in a little tiny kitchenette. We don't have like a stove or anything like that while the renovations are being done, so it was nice to like live like a human for a minute. But I could not wait because I had so many more capabilities of using the stove and doing all these different things while we were here, so I couldn't wait to get here and to use this kind of backdrop to film these creative videos. So I'm really looking forward to just more of that creative outlet of just expressing myself through video and YouTube or booktube content. So the next question is, why do you love reading? And oh man, there are so many reasons, but I'd say main reasons are I really love, probably the number one reason why I love reading is that I love the way that reading elevates my mind. So I can read something in a book, and a princess in a kingdom in a realm that does not even exist on earth can be going through something that mirrors the same thing that I'm going through, but I'm able to see from the perspective of this character in this faraway land that kind of whisks me off to that place. I'm able to see a new perspective on my situation because I'm completely outside of it. And so I think that a lot of times reading for me elevates the way that I view the world and my world and what's happening around me, and makes me a better human. I'm able to better contribute to society with the understanding that I glean from reading. And so I'd say that's probably the number one reason why. Number two would be that on a more basic level. So the escapism of it, being able to go someplace I have never been before, because even if you're buying a $16.99 hardcover, that's way cheaper than a flight across the world or the impossibility of going to a brand new land that doesn't even exist on Earth. And so it is I'd say it's a cheaper way. That's with an asterisk because it can get expensive, but it is a fairly inexpensive way to go someplace completely new that you've never been before, and I really, really love that. And then third would probably be the relationships that I foster through reading. So I love connecting with my husband through reading and with my friends who read. We have a little mini book club thing that we do. I love connecting with people and getting to know them better through how their insights on books that I've read and that I love and everything. So there's so many things. There are a million things I love about reading, but those would be my top three. So the next is, what book or series got you into reading? So it's crazy. I don't even remember. Like, really, honestly, my mom was a huge stickler on like us reading over the summer and writing reading reports and things like that. I read at a super, super young age. Like my dad did a lot of business in Japan when I was a kid. And so he would come back from Japan and teach me Japanese words. And my mom is from the Bahamas, and she would speak to me a lot in that dialect, and language development was huge in my household. So I was speaking Japanese by the time I was 2. I was reading right around that same year, 2 or 3. And so because language development was always so huge in my household, I've read as long as I can remember. There wasn't like a single book or series that kind of tipped me into being like an avid reader. I really loved the Series of Unfortunate Events series when I was a kid. That was one that I could not put down and read a lot of. When I was super young, I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter. I grew up in a Christian household and I wasn't allowed to read it. And then when I started dating my husband, he has a Deathly Hallows tattoo, and he was like, look, like we can't do this if you don't have Harry Potter book knowledge. Like, I need you to read that. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I read Harry Potter for the very first time. So I was a full-on adult. I'm 29 now, so I might have been, I probably was about 26 when I read Harry Potter for the first time. So it definitely wasn't Harry Potter, but I feel like Harry Potter kind of revved up my reading engine. When I read it as an adult, it got me back into reading as much as I am now. So instead of reading a handful of books a year, so I think Goodreads, my reading goal was 12. I wanted to read like 12 books total. I wanted to read a book a month, and that was about normal for me for a few years. And so I think reading Harry Potter kind of helped tip me back into the place where I am now, of reading closer to like my goal being a book a week before Booktube, and now Booktube has inspired me to read even more than that. So yeah, that was a long way to say there's not super a series that got me into reading. And then, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I don't know. So I will say a couple of my favorite booktubers here in case you're wondering. So I really love Naya Reads and Smiles. I think she's amazing. I like Brittany the Bibliophile. I watch a lot of books with Chloe. Those are 3 booktubers that I really like. They're all kind of on the bigger end of booktubers. Like I would say probably 30,000 plus subscribers for all of them. And they're who I started watching that really got me into Booktube. I'm going to do a series on my channel that talks about smaller booktubers, because I want to spotlight people that don't have a lot of subscribers that maybe you haven't heard of, to help connect you to somebody who has a similar reading taste as you, who rates books similarly to you, so that you can get really impactful recommendations. But yeah, for them, I don't know. I don't really have any questions. I just really enjoy their content. I guess if we were sitting one-on-one, I would maybe ask them about the logistics of their channel. How do you plan things and film things, and what have you found that works for you, and what have you found that doesn't? But if I had a chance to go get coffee, I guess, with any of those booktubers, I would more talk about books, really. Like, I know that's such a lame answer. I mean, that's what our common interest is, so we'd probably be talking about books. So the next question is, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? So because this is not my first video on my channel, and I did a video beforehand, it gave me a little teensy, it was just one video, so it gave me a tiny taste of challenges that I was going to run into. First one is, I am a textbook overachiever. I am a Hermione all the way. Like my first priority is adventure, and right after that it's I don't know if I want to say intellect, but I really enjoy learning. What I do for work is learning based. I create curriculum that allows children with different learning styles to excel. So I'm all about learning and expanding my mind and being able to build my knowledge in a way that helps me interact with the world around me. And so with that textbook overachiever Hermione personality that I have, I think that I am going to have a lot of trouble being realistic with my booktube goals, being realistic with how long it takes to film a video, how long it is going to take to edit it. So I go into it saying I'm going to film 5 videos this week, and in the amount of time that I've allotted, I can maybe get 1 filmed, and then going to editing takes hours and hours of time, and I am a little bit of a perfectionist. So there are videos that I have filmed between the last one that I posted and this one that I've been like, oh, it's not good enough, I don't want to put it up, and then I have no content on my channel for a whole month trying to get the perfect video to put up. So my goal is to have 10 videos out in a week, and then I don't even get 1 video out in a week because I filmed 5 videos and none of them are perfect. It's like it's a constant battle in being realistic for me. So I think being realistic is probably going to be the hardest thing for me to overcome. And then the sub content to that would be, or the sub issue, I guess, to that would be having consistent content, because I am making realistic goals and not being too much of a perfectionist. So the next question is, when did you start reading? I kind of already talked about this. I've been reading as long as I can remember. I probably learned to read around the time I was 2 and just got better and better at it, I guess. So that would be your hope, you know, that you get better at it the more you read. But I've been reading for as long as I can remember. Language was huge in my household. My parents were not pushy or hard about me reading, but I just have always been a seeker of knowledge. I've always really wanted to learn and grow and know things. I was always the kid that was annoying, asking why after every question, like, but why, all the way until you couldn't ask why anymore. And so that curiosity turned me on to reading along with my parents. And then once I started reading and realized that I could get answers to questions and knowledge without having to ask every time, I could research and find it for myself, there was no stopping me. So I've been reading for as long as I can remember. Where do I read? So there, oh man, moment of silence from my library. So in the first house that my husband and I lived in when we got married, which we have been married for just under a year, by the way, so we will hit a year in November. And in the first house we lived in together, I started putting together a library. I had my little Billy bookcase, IKEA shelves, and I had my little TBR shelf on there, and I had my sections of this is my fantasy, and this is my historical fiction, and this is my romance section or my contemporary reads. These are my non-fiction books, and I had everything kind of like set out in the way that I liked it. I had a chair, a little fluffy chair in there, and a little table to put my books on and everything, and I was like, it was heaven for me. I'm all about ambiance. You'll find that a lot on this channel, the atmospheric feels that things give me. So I would set my lighting in the way that I liked. I would turn on some classical music. I would brew myself a cup of tea, and I would sit in my library and read. Now, with whatever vlog I put up or like a life update, getting to know me, I don't know, video, you will see that we're currently in a new house, or it's an old house. It's a house that was built in the late 70s, and we're remodeling it to make it a modern current house. I'm gonna have an even bigger, even nicer library in this house, but it's taking forever for us to get the build done. And so right now I spend a lot of time reading in my bed or on the couch. I don't have like a specific reading area. I take books with me everywhere, so I could read Dr. Seuss. Like, I read it in the park. I read it in the dark. I read it, like, I just read everywhere. But I'm looking forward to having my designated library back. So then the last question is, what kind of books do you like to read? I saw a smaller tag going around that talked about like the genres that you like to read, and I want to film that video so you guys have a more specific, in-depth answer to that question. But the short answer is the majority of the books that I read. Like, when I say majority, I'm saying 90% maybe of the books that I read are either fantasy or contemporary romance novels. So there are some that fall in between that. Like, there's that 10% of where we'll get a wild one. So I don't read, like, I wouldn't say I don't read anything that gets smutty at all. The type of contemporary romance I read might have a couple of smutty scenes, but like, for example, my favorite contemporary romance novel is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. So I really love the hate to love trope. I really love quick, easy, carefree reads. And then on the opposite side of that, I read a lot of fantasy books, a lot. So my husband really likes fantasy as well. We read a lot of fantasy together. Most of the time I'll have one of each going at a time. So I'll be working on a fantasy novel over here, a contemporary novel over here, or I'll read through a fantasy. It'll give me a little bit of reading, like reader's fatigue, and I'll read contemporary in between to kind of refresh me before I jump back into a like thick, dense fantasy. So yeah, so a lot of fantasy and contemporary romance. If you're into that, this is the right place for you. I'm so glad that you guys are here and watching and hanging out with me. I cannot believe that there are people that are subscribed and here to watch and listen to what I have to say. So if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. If you like this kind of content, if you like my personality, if you think I'm somebody who you'd like to hang out with, then please like and comment and subscribe. I see every single one. Obviously there's 10 of you, but each one is very, very important to me. You're not just a drop in the bucket. You are an individual person that is making an impact in my life by subscribing and hanging out. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Booktube Newbie Tag. I hope you enjoyed this Booktube Newbie Tag, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.